Welcome everyone. I'm Sam Maggi, culinary mentor and chef with Basics Market. And today we're making crepes. These are eggy, thin pancakes, so delicious and really easy to put together. We're going to be going over a few different types of fillings and ideas to utilize your crepes once you make them. They're good any time of the day. All times of the day is a good time for a crepe, but they're great breakfast, lunch, or dinner, late night snack, whatever. And best of all, you can make a bunch ahead of time and freeze them, and they work really well like that. So let's get right into it. If you have any questions as we go along, go ahead and type them into the Q&A box, and we will answer them as best we can live during this show. So let's start with a crepe recipe here. So crepes are, as we know them, are made with eggs, milk, flour, water, and butter. Originally, crepes came from the northwest of France, from an area called Brittany, and this area is very rocky, and all that grew there well was buckwheat as far as a grain crop goes. So the original crepes were invented there, and they were made with buckwheat. So if you're a gluten-free or a gluten intolerant person, buckwheat is a really great way to go. And buckwheat crepes are still called galette in France and Brittany especially. There's a distinction between a galette, which will be a savory crepe using buckwheat, and then later on, when wheat was introduced, we got into dessert crepes and sweet crepes, and then that's called a crepe. And so we're making crepes here, but I'm going to use them for sweet and savory applications over the course of this demonstration. So let's go ahead and begin with the batter. Well, yeah, what got me thinking about that was in Brittany, at that time, milk was kind of scarce. So the early crepes were actually made with water and wine as the liquid, a mixture. And so wine was more available than milk, apparently. And you know, that's France for you, I guess, right? Anyway, so we're going to start with a cup of flour. Now, in your recipe, I know that I wrote it where we're putting the milk first and the eggs and mixing those together and then adding the flour. But really, that's the best method if you're using a blender, which is a great way to go with this. A blender or an immersion blender will get all the lumps out really well. But if you're just using a whisk in a bowl, as I am here, you want to go ahead and put your flour in first. And this recipe is easily doubled or tripled, you know, if you want to really get into it, or halved for that matter. So here's a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and we're not going to add any sugar. If you know that you're kind of using the crepe for a sweet application, you can add a little bit of sugar to your batter and sweeten it up a little bit, but I kind of like to leave the crepe itself neutral. So we have I whisked the salt in to the flour there. And now I'm going to go ahead and crack a couple eggs. Now, I'm using our beautiful Gwendolyn's eggs from the Basics Market. We raise the hens and gather these eggs and bring them to you fresh. If you're in the Willamette Valley, these are very fresh eggs around here. So I always like to crack an egg into a separate container or bowl first to check and just make sure I don't have any shell fragments and things like that. And the best method for cracking an egg is just straight onto the countertop, kind of palming it, and that'll give you the straightest crack with little to no shell in your egg. All right, so here we have our 2 eggs, and then I've got my 1/2 cup of milk and 1/2 cup of water together here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and drop those eggs in, and then slowly add my milk and water. And meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead. I have 2 tablespoons of butter, and we want to go ahead and get that going in the pan here. And I preheated my pan, but I don't want to burn the butter. I got it nice and hot though, so it would work. So the idea here, and this is a good idea with any sort of batter, be it cake batter or crepe batter, is to go ahead and incorporate your liquid slowly into the flour. And this way you won't get any lumps, hopefully. And so we're going for kind of a thick batter at this point. And then we'll just keep adding the liquid and thin it as we go. Now, you can always adjust with more water or milk. And you're looking for a pretty thin batter. So once we add this melted butter, this will be nice and thin. And it already is, as you can see, it's a little bit of a thin batter. So let's go ahead, and it looks nice and smooth. So real easy, right? And now we're going to go ahead and add our melted butter. So melting the butter in your skillet or your crepe pan, let's call this. And this is my crepe pan. I brought this one from home because this is my favorite crepe pan. It's also my favorite omelet pan, and it's a 10-inch stainless. And it has the right angle on the sides for kind of flipping stuff. Things don't get hung up on it, and I just really like it for this sort of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and add my melted butter to the batter. And so the 2 things, what I began saying was the 2 things about melting the butter. Well, I guess one thing is your butter melts and your pan is heated up, right? And then the other thing is you're kind of pre-lubricated the pan. So the crepes have enough butter in them, the crepe batter, that they're actually going to self-lubricate as you're making the crepes. But it's, for the first one, it's kind of nice to have a little butter in there, because with that first one, you're not necessarily, your pan might not be up to heat. So there is sort of a perfect medium heat. And it really is a medium heat you're going to want to be using with your crepes. Gets too hot, they tend to stick early in the center. And if it's not hot enough, of course, it doesn't cook. So let's have a look here. So I'm using a 1/4 cup measure, and for this 10-inch pan, this makes a perfect amount of crepe batter to put into your pan here. And so there's a little sizzle, and that's what we want to hear. And I'm just going to go ahead and move the batter around to coat the bottom of the pan evenly. And it looks like we have a question. Yes.
Chef Sam Ruby would like to know, do you recommend nonstick or stainless steel pan for the crepes?
All right. Well, I would recommend a stainless pan. Personally, it really is nonstick in the sense, well, once again, between the butter that we melted first off and the butter that's in the batter, the crepes should not stick. And if you have the right amount of heat under there, there shouldn't be a problem. Just in general, I'm not a really pro non-stick. I mean, cast iron really is non-stick if it's seasoned well. And stainless, you can see this is not sticking. So there's what I like about this pan is I can flip a crepe with it, but you don't have to flip a crepe. You can use a spatula, and I'll show you that method as well. So you can see the color on the top here, and that's kind of where you want it, just starting to turn a little bit golden on top. And then it just takes 30 seconds to 45 seconds on the other side. And then you're just kind of looking for it to dry out. And you can see it's a hot crepe. but it's a crepe. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but, but you can see it's finished, right? Okay, let's do another one. So you want to go ahead and put that 1/4 cup of batter right in the center of your pan, and then just gently move it around, and you want to just coat to the edges and like that. So the word crepe comes from the Latin crispus, and what we see with the crepe, the crispus is because of which means curled in Latin, and it's because the edges of the crepe kind of curl up, and that's how it got its name. Okay, so again, you can see no trouble sticking, and then this one's not even battered, right? And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use the spatula method. So you just need a nice spatula or a knife, like some people, I mean knife, I'm sorry, a fork. Some people use a fork, but with a fork, I find I kind of poke holes in it, but you can, if you have a delicate touch, you can put the fork under there and then just kind of grab it with your fingers, if you like, and flip it over, or just use the spatula. You know, whatever your comfort zone for pain is. No, however you want to handle that crepe. Yes, we have another question.
Chef Sam, we have a couple questions. Vicky would like to know, what about using non-dairy milk? Would almond milk work all right? And Ruby would like to just confirm what the level of the flame is on your pan.
Yeah, okay, so a couple questions there. Let me address I'm going to address the latter first. The flame is really just medium heat, and where I end up is right on medium mostly. Again, it will depend on your stove. I'm just using this little electric induction burner, which every time I use it, it's a new, like, figure it out kind of thing. But the thing with these is it does hold a really nice steady heat, and I'm just right on medium with this. And I find that with most electric stoves. And then with a gas stove, kind of a medium-low flame. And you might have to adjust it as your pan heats up and continues to pick up heat. You might want to adjust the heat a little bit. And just as it gets too hot, once again, your batter, it just won't spread around the pan. Now, the other question was about using milk alternatives. And I am using our beautiful Lulabelle's Creamery milk that we produce in-house with the Basics Market here. So really nice fresh milk, but it is a dairy milk. And you can use non-dairy milks. The person asking the question was asking about almond milk, and almond milk would work well here. Again, really any sort of liquid, like I mentioned before, wine and water were used early on with crepe making, and you could still do that. Really, any sort of liquid, the milk will give it richness. The almond milk will give it richness. I've made vegan gluten-free crepes, and they've turned out well, and they'll turn out really well with buckwheat, especially is good for that, because buckwheat is a gluten-free grain. So I'll do one more, and then we'll kind of get into, it's really fun and kind of relaxing to make some crepes. And again, you can make your crepes ahead of time and freeze them. And if you're freezing them, you just want to cool them, and then you layer them with parchment paper, and then wrap them up well in plastic or put them in a Ziploc bag and put them in the freezer. And then you can pull them out anytime and utilize them. And it looks like we might have another question. Yes.
A couple folks asking if we can use wheat flour, and also Rossabelle would like to know, are they still made that way in Brittany?
So a couple questions. One is can you use whole wheat flour, I believe is the question. And yes, I would, I'd use experiment with your flours if you like. use different combinations, and you can really, it's really finding the consistency of liquid to flour, or whatever grain you're using, and getting that kind of flow over the bottom of your pan. And then about someone's asking about whether they're still making crepes in Brittany. I believe the wine and water thing maybe, or maybe the buckwheat thing for sure. And there's even in Brittany, there's a Brotherhood of the Galette, which is a secret society that's dedicated to the original buckwheat crepe in the galette, which is called in France, and other places where there's that distinction between the buckwheat savory crepe and the wheat flour. Here we're using white wheat sweet crepe. Okay, so I think we'll move on. We can always come back if there's more questions about the batter or any of that. Again, you can see I got a really nice smooth batter just with the whisk. But in order to do that, I had the dry ingredients in a bowl and then added the wet ingredients slowly to that bowl with the dry ingredients. If you do it in a blender, you want to do it the opposite. Put your wet ingredients in, then dump your dry ingredients and whiz it. And the blender is a really nice, easy way to go if you are so inclined. Yes, we have another question.
Have you ever used chickpea flour for crepes? And also, how do you recommend thawing them when they're frozen?
Okay, a couple questions. Chickpea flour for crepes. Yeah, I have, and I love chickpea flour because it's gluten-free, and I have a gluten intolerant person in my household, and so I'm always looking for stuff. And chickpea flour is nice because it's chickpeas, so it's actually protein as well. And so if you are looking for a protein source, and maybe you're vegan, vegetarian diet, it's really nice. With the crepe, what I'll often do is maybe 50% chickpea and 50% something else, just to cut it a little bit. But yeah, you can definitely use chickpea flour. And I've made some really nice savory crepes that way. It's so good with like a veggie filling and some chickpea. It's really tasty and satisfying. So what I'm doing here is I've changed skillets. I have a cast iron skillet on here. It's a little bigger, and I've got some high sides because I want to go ahead and go through a crepe Suzette little demo, because this is a real kind of classic crepe, dessert crepe, and it's sort of fun to look at. And it has a lot of nice citrus notes. So I'm going to go ahead and heat this up. And while that's heating, though, just so we don't dilly-dally, I'll go through some other kind of sweet applications, and then then we'll go ahead and talk about savory crepes a little bit. So breakfast crepes. My favorite kind of breakfast crepe is yogurt and berries and jam. And oftentimes just yogurt and jam is nice. I have here another fine product from our Wild Rose Foods and Basics Market, the Sunny Jim strawberry jam. Really nice strawberry jam. And it is also available in your Basics Markets. I highly recommend it, though, if you're a fan of strawberry jam. It's really yummy. So let's go ahead, and we're just going to kind of look at the technique here of rolling a crepe. So crepes are rolled in the US anyway. In France, they're often folded. So let's do a folded crepe and a rolled crepe. So if I'm rolling a crepe, I just want to go just like kind of making a burrito or something. You want to kind of spread your fillings. I spread a little jam down, and then I'm going to go ahead and I have some nice Greek yogurt. Something a little thicker is good here, so it holds its shape. So just a line of Greek yogurt. Then I have some beautiful, we're getting into berry season pretty quick here. It's springtime. So I have some strawberries, blueberries, and blackberries, and put those down. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold from each end and then over and over again. And you want to kind of keep it in tight, but not so tight, you know, that you're tearing things up. But that's it, you know, and then you've got a nice little packet. Now, blintz is, right, the Russian or Eastern European version of the crepe, and then you'd roll that kind of thing, but you would use some sour cream and cream cheese mixed together. So there's that one. And I'm going to go ahead and do a little deal here. So this is kind of an Italian version, and this one is really nice. This is, I have here some ricotta cheese, half 50% ricotta cheese and 50% mascarpone cheese, mascarpone. And this makes a really lovely mixture. Go ahead and whisk that together. And then what's nice with this is just a touch of honey. And you just want to mix that up really well. And same sort of deal. So let's go ahead and let's fold this one maybe. So I plop down my cheese mixture, my mascarpone and ricotta. And yeah, we have another question and a little
Ruby.
dab of jam. Sorry, go ahead.
Ruby would like to know if you roll after the crepe is cooled down.
Well, you know, yes, good question. Ruby is asking if we roll after the crepe is cooled down, and not a bad idea. Let it cool a little bit, but you know, it doesn't have to be terribly cool. But sure, yeah, I mean, you know, let it cool so you can handle it. It's nice. It all depends on what you're doing with it. I guess if crepes are good cold, they're good room temp, and they're good hot. But yes, for handling, you want them to be a little bit cool. So here's a nice little packet. And so for like street fair in France and so forth, you'll get a little packet, and then you can just eat it like that. You know, and really the fun thing about crepes is you can treat them how, you know, you can fill them with whatever you like. You can present them however you like. It's really unlimited what you can do with the crepe, and again, and with ingredients as well. You know, as far as those alternate flours and things like that, and milks, different alternate milks. Okay, I've got some heat going here, so let's go ahead and have a look at this crepe Suzette. So the first thing I'm going to do is caramelize. I have 3 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm going to caramelize this sugar. And once again, I don't want it to burn. So with caramelization of sugar, you just want it to sort of melt. And now we want to turn the heat down a little bit to medium low, and we're just looking for it to turn amber and liquid, and that's caramelization. And I have here a cup of freshly squeezed orange juice, and I have and I'm going to go ahead and zest 1 orange. So here's a zester, and I'm going to get my zest ready, and I'm going to go ahead and put this on the back burner for a second, or off the burner, I should say. So, well, it's before it gets too dark. Probably should have zested earlier, but here's a zester. These are really handy, these microplane deals for zesting, and really good for not only citrus peel, but ginger. Okay, so there's the zest of one orange. Now, a lot of the flavor, you have all that citrus oil in the peel of the orange or in a lemon. And so that's going to be really nice and strong citrus flavor for us. Okay, so this dish, the crepe Suzette, we think of this as kind of a tableside thing. It's often served in restaurants and set on fire. And we might attempt a little fire. I don't know if I have enough booze to do that, but we shall see. But really, to do a crepe Suzette, you don't have to set it on fire. That actually technically is another dish, which is a crepes flambé when you set it on fire. And so a Suzette doesn't necessarily need the fire, but it's fun. And I am going to try it. We'll see. And everything, you know, my whole face might go up in flames, and then that'll be a really exciting cooking class. Okay, so we have the zest of the orange, and now we're going to go ahead and add our cup of orange juice. And so I'm kind of taking it off the heat a little bit, and I'm going to be kind of careful because when liquid hits caramelization, it's going to bubble quite a bit, and that's why I wanted this more high-sided pan for this, because yeah, I didn't want it to jump up on me, as that could be painful. So now we want to melt the sugar back in. So what happens when you add a liquid to a caramelization is the sugar seizes up and it crystallizes. And so now we just have to melt it back down. And now we're going to go ahead and add our orange zest while this is happening. And we're going to add a teaspoon of lemon juice. So we're getting all this good citrus notes. And we're going to get that to a nice bubble. And again, I'm melting that sugar back down. It seized up a tad. So we'll get that going. And then we're going to add a tablespoon of Grand Marnier, which is an orange liqueur. So we're going to add a tablespoon. And that smells yummy. And now we're going to go ahead. Let's get that sugar kind of melted. Now crepes, this is a great time of year to be making crepes, and it's traditional as it's springtime. In France, in Brittany, February, there's a day, I think it's early February, but which is the crepe day, and everyone eats crepes and celebrates the incoming springtime. And part of it is the shape of the crepe is like the sun coming out, and it's one of those ancient rituals, crepe day. So here we are in spring and celebrating crepes. So we just want to cook this down a little bit, and now we're going to go ahead and add our butter, and I'm adding about 2 ounces of butter. And we're looking for a nice kind of reduction here. It's going to get a little bit glossy. And then we'll go ahead and add our crepes. And we're going to coat the crepes. So while that is happening, let's talk a little bit about savory crepes. Or let's not, because I'll become confused and you might also. Let's stick with this. Okay, here we go. We're getting there. It's just taking a second. Okay, now, so this is enough jus to do a few crepes, probably at least, I want to say like 4. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to let it reduce a little bit more so you can see it's becoming a little bit glossy there. And thickening up, and all that nice caramelized sugar has melted. Yeah, it looks like we have a question.
Could you use regular orange juice instead of fresh?
The question is, can you use regular orange juice instead of fresh? And sure, you could just use some regular orange juice. So because this is kind of hot, I'm going to go ahead and use the tongs, flip it. So I flipped it into half, and then we're going to do quarters. So there's 1. And again, you just want to coat. You want to coat it all over. Then flip half it, and then half it. And now you can see it's getting nice and syrupy. And it smells just fabulous. Really citrusy and yummy. Now, one thing about the crepe is the first side, the side you start with is always going to look a little better than the other side is pales in comparison, so to speak. So can try to, it doesn't matter so much with this dish, but when you're rolling and folding, you kind of want to keep that first side on the outside, and you'll have that nice kind of golden brown look. Okay, so there's that. Now, I have a lot of juice in here, but I'm going to attempt the flambe. So this is the point where it's going to turn into a crepes flambe, maybe. Yay, there it is, fire. So there it is, it's a crepes flambe. And that's, yeah, there's your table side service for this evening. Yeah, great. Now, it worked. So let me go ahead and maybe put these on this plate here. And this will be kind of, whoa, that one, very delicate. So I'm going to switch to my spatula as it's so delicate. Good. Actually, 2 utensils are good for this. And there we go.
We have a comment to share with you, Chef Sam.
Yes.
Encore from Ruby.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Ooh, there. So you can see also with this, the underside that was down really got a nice caramelization on it. And so from here, we could decorate it with, oh, here, some berries maybe. I don't know, if just for fun, if you had some like orange peel art or something, that could be nice. But we'll just do that just because it's sort of pretty at the moment. So there's our crepe Suzette. Also in crepe Suzette into crepe flambeau. So there you go. That was some excitement. Now let's talk about savory crepes. So savory crepes are really wonderful because it's just like kind of like an enchilada or a lasagna, something like that. You can casserole them out or not. But I guess what I'm saying is that's something I like to do with them. Now, a really nice sauce for a savory crepe is a quick cream sauce. a cream cheese sauce. And here I've got some of this really good heavy whipping cream. And once again, this is Lulabelle's brand from our own cows, which are right down the street here in the Willamette Valley. And they enjoy organic food and free grazing. And they make some really lovely milk and butter and cream. And this cream is really nice and thick. And what I'm going to do, and this is just a real simple cream and cheese sauce. And here I'm using some of our Lulabelle's sharp cheddar, which I really like for sauces and things like that. It has a really good sharp flavor, and it melts nicely. So I'm just going to get this up to heat here. And you just wanted to add cheese until your sauce starts to thicken up a little bit. And it shouldn't take much time, nor much cheese. But we'll just add it in until it thickens up. Okay, meanwhile, if you are doing the casserole type deal, you're just going to want to preheat an oven like 350 or so. Have a little casserole pan, depending on how many crepes you're making, and you can just butter this dish or lightly oil it, whatever you'd like, just so they don't stick. Now, of course, you don't have to casserole the crepes, and you can make a sauce or not. A sauce is kind of fun. Another kind of sauce that goes really well with a crepe is like a tomato sauce, or you could do a tomato cream sauce, or a pesto cream sauce is really pretty green and herbaceous. Ooh, speaking of herbs, you can cut like fresh herbs, like I've got chives here, and sometimes I cut up a bunch of chives during chive season, which it is now. I just picked a bunch of beautiful chives out in front of our kitchen here, and put them right in your crepe batter, and it's really pretty, and it tastes great too. And just use any selection of herbs you like, and that's really neat. So you can see this cream sauce is coming together there. Just cream and shredded cheese, and that's it. That's all you need, and that's all. That's it. Very simple. It's done, and there's a lovely sauce for crepes. So you could just fill and plate, but I am going to show this casserole method. So what I have done is I have put together some fillings, and I like a veggie filling, or a veggie and meat filling, and you can use seafood or chicken or kind of whatever you have. This is a really good way to use up leftovers if you have some leftovers you want to use up. What I did here is I had some chard and mushrooms and onion and garlic, and I just sauteed that stuff together till it was kind of nice and soft. And so that's that part of it. And you could leave it there and it would be a vegetarian. And then I cooked some chicken off. I just roasted some bone-in chicken thighs, and then I shredded the meat. Took the meat off after it was cooked and shredded it up, and I'm going to use that as well. So let's, without further ado, roll some of these guys up, and go ahead and clean my rolling plate from orange zest. These will have a citrus note, which will be lovely. So once again, you want to look for your nice looking outside, if you want that kind of golden brown look. And here, I'm just going to put down a little bit of my mushroom chard. So I really like mushrooms and greens. This could be spinach, it could be kale, it could be mustard greens, it could be chard, which it is in this case, arugula, all kinds of stuff. And then the mushrooms, any kind of mushrooms, if you have fancy mushrooms, you could make like, ooh, you could throw some mushrooms into your cream sauce and make like a mushroom cream sauce. That'd be lovely. So a little bit of chicken in there. And then I like to put a little bit of whatever sauce I'm using in there with the stuff. And why not a little bit of cheese? And then we'll roll these up. Do your ends first, and then roll over, and it's all a nice little package. And so there's one. Let's do a few more here. And so you can see, of course, you can put whatever you like in here, and it's just going to be great. And once again, if you have a little leftover roast chicken, or maybe you have some grilled fish, something like that, really great way to kind of get a nice, elegant and fun second meal out of it. And we'll roll this one up. And like that. And let's just do one more. And then this, you can see again, that beautiful color on that. The first side, just always has the color. And do that one. And so you'll just pack these in your casserole dish as you would an enchilada, something like that. A little more chicken and a little sauce and a little cheese. And we have a question. Yes.
Wendy would like to know how many inches of the pan, what is a good size a pan to use for the casserole?
All right. So Wendy's asking about pan size for the casserole. And this, often it depends, how many crepes you're making for one thing. But this is a nice size, whatever this is, which I want to say, let's see. So here's a 10-inch pan. Yeah, this is like a 9-incher, a 9-inch casserole, 9 by 9. And this is pretty neat for the 10-inch crepe, because once you've rolled it, it fits nicely in there, you can see. But often when I'm doing a rolled crepe like this for my family, we'll each eat like a few crepes. And so I'll use like a lasagna pan is really cool. And, you can line them up and then maybe line a couple on the edge. Again, it sort of depends on how many you're making and what you got. So with this one, you could fit 4 easily across. And then if you wanted to stuff a couple on the sides, you could. But I'm going to leave the sides open for now. And in that way, the sauce will kind of gather. Oh yeah, and you want to put a little sauce down under them as well, which I forgot. So the first thing to put down in your pan would be the sauce. Then you put your crepes down on top of that. But no problem, because I just lifted it up and the sauce is under there now. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of this sauce over the top. And then we're going to go ahead and pop that in the oven. And you just bake it again, like around 350 degrees till it's warm all the way through. And it'll start to brown on top a little bit, probably about 20 minutes or so, 20-25 minutes. So here we go with some of that magic of television. Ta-da! And there's the finish, guys. So as you can see, they're lovely golden brown, and the sauce sets up a little bit, and they look really delicious. So at this point, you could finish it with some aforementioned fresh chives, some sort of herbs. I'm going to use the chives, and I'm going to go ahead and pop them over the top like this. And what's really neat about this time of year is the chive blossoms. And chive blossoms are edible and beautiful, beautiful purple color, and they taste great. They taste oniony like chives, and they're really pretty. So when I've got them, I'll utilize them in instances such as this and just add a little color, you know, and we could, I don't know, let's make a little chive blossom corner over here, and just for fun, make this look kind of cool like that. Okay, well, that's pretty. Yes, a question.
Rosabelle would like to know, can you make the night before and then add the sauce and bake it the next day?
Yes, you can easily make these the night before, and yeah, if you don't sauce them, that's a great idea. Leave them unsauced. You know, cover them, put them in the refrigerator, and they'll hold up nicely. Yeah, if you were to sauce them, they might get a little soggy. So then, yeah, sauce them before you put them in the oven, and yeah, that would be a good way to sort of break up the work on those, right? Now let's look at one more kind of fun desserty type crepe, which is real classic, and this is kind of nice. It can be dessert or breakfast. This one is just lemon and powdered sugar in it, and it's just a classic kind of snack. And that's all there is to it. So you have your lemon, and you just want to sort of coat the crepe with your lemon juice, and then have a touch of powdered sugar. And I'm going to go ahead and sift it over for even distribution. And this is a way my mother would often make these for me like this, and I just love it. And so simple, but really amazing combination of flavors. And I'm just doing that four, you know, the folds there into a quarter, and a little more lemon juice, and a little more sugar. And there we go. That's your classic lemon and sugar. And you can use granulated sugar there, but the powdered sugar is kind of nice, soft texture, and evenly disperses. Yeah, we have a question.
Someone would like to know, can they make the sauce without the cheese?
Yeah, so as far as the sauce goes, yeah, you don't have to use cheese. You could do like a bechamel type thing, and maybe you're going to want to thicken that cream a little bit with something, or maybe not. You can reduce a cream down to a really thick consistency just with time and just a really slow simmer, and it will get thick eventually, enough to pour. And then you could flavor it maybe with some herbs, or again, mushrooms would be nice. Or you can, if you don't want to use cheese, and if you're still using dairy, I'm assuming, but this method also would work with non-dairy. You could use butter or an alternative butter, a little bit of flour, and make a roux, right, where you mix flour and butter together to make kind of a paste. and then start that in your saucepan, and then add your cream or alternative to that, and whisk that, and let it come to a simmer, and that'll give you a nice thick sauce. That's like a bechamel sauce, and that can be a good kind of creamy type sauce for this. Otherwise, a tomato sauce, as I mentioned, is a really good way to go with this. And you can do that easily, vegan and no cheese. Or anyway, yes, many possibilities with the sauces. I'd say experiment with that stuff. So here we have some savory crepes and some breakfasty type crepes and some dessert crepes, and all from our same base formula, which is very versatile. And again, you can use different sorts of flour and experiment in any type of filling you like. And there you have it, a little demonstration on crepes. Thank you so much for joining me for this class. Again, my name is Sam. I'm a chef and culinary mentor at Basics Market, and I'm bringing you these fun classes. We have more classes coming up. Please join me again and visit our Basics Market around the Portland area. Get your supplies for crepes and beyond. Check out our products. Really, the dairy products are just fabulous. If you like fresh dairy, you will have come to the right place if you visit the Basics Market and get some of those Gwendolyn eggs also while you're at it. All right. All I have left to say, I guess, is happy cooking.